Good afternoon, class. Good afternoon, Kritika. Good afternoon, Lohita. Yeah, I hope my voice is audible for you. Please confirm. Am I audible? Am I audible to you? Kritika, audible. Great. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Yes. So, we will be dealing with today's current affairs in the paper The Hindu. Okay. Fine. Let's go with the articles. So, expect states to tap loan window quicker. So, Finance Minister yes. I hope this is clear. Yeah. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Thursday exuded confidence that the states will sign up as early as April to avail themselves of 1.3 lakh crore of interest-free loans offered to them by the Union Budget 23-24 for capital expenditure and much faster than they did in the current financial year. So, what Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman has told that they will be availing interest-free loans for states of amount 1.3 lakh crore. So, and this allocation of amount will be quicker than compared to the current financial year to now the upcoming financial year. It will be quicker when they give this interest-free loans, and this interest-free loans agenda is to be a capital expenditure. Right? That means for the asset creation, can be of transport, buildings, that is of asset creations. For that they will be giving this interest-free loans. Okay, 50-year-old interest-free loans window constitutes a critical part of Centre's ambitious 10 lakh crore capex push for coming year, and Financial Minister asserted that the scheme's outlay was raised from 1 lakh crore allocated this year. So, only because the states have shown interest. Simple, you need to have you need to understand only this particular part, that currently they are allocating 1.3 lakh crore as interest free loans for asset creation, capital expenditure. Okay. Next part. So, compared to the yesterday's newspaper, today's newspaper holds not much importance. So, whatever holds the importance, only that particular articles we will see today. Okay. Of UPSC importance. These are of regional importance that I am skipping, and I am also skipping your editorial part. Editorial part, regional news, I am skipping out. Okay. So, these are all our state's regional paper. Fine. Let us see. Editorial part, this will be dealt in a separate class. Let's go. Yeah. So, see here, horn of plenty, but for now, for how long? Horn of plenty. So, one-horned rhinos graze at Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary in Assam. So, why I am just showing this picture and explaining this can be asked in your prelims. Okay. So, whatever is mentioned that can be asked in your prelims. So, Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary is present in Assam, where one-horned rhinoceros are of importance. Okay. So, this shows that Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary has the world's highest concentration of Indian one-horned rhinos, 107 in 38 square kilometers distance. So, 107 in count, or this one-horned rhinoceros are of importance. Okay. So, rhinos are finding it difficult to find fresh grasslands, as there has been no rainfall in the state for the last 5 months, and water bodies too dried up. That is what the current concern is about. So, despite having the high count in all over the world, high count in India, that too in this particular wildlife sanctuary, still it is facing issue because there is no grazing lands for these particular rhinoceros. Okay. Next. Yes. So this is one article that you need to know. I hope that is clear. Government can seek rethink on collegium recommendations. So we know that collegium recommends certain people, certain judges for their recruitment. Okay. So now this article deals about those recommendations and how government is suggesting them with some recommendations. So till now in polity you would have learnt Till now in polity you would have learnt that collegium system recommends few people for their recruitment into high courts or supreme courts, and it is obligation compulsory that the government should obey for their collegium system. Whatever they recommend names, those names should be accepted. But this particular article says that whatever the recommendations that Supreme Court or High Court is sending to them can be sent for reconsideration. So that is told in this particular article. Let's see what this article says in detail. Okay. So quite important for today's current affair. So asserting that the union government can seek reconsideration for the names recommended by Supreme Court Collegium SCC, Supreme Court Collegium, Law Minister Kiren Rijiju on Thursday informed that Rajya Sabha that there are 18 such cases. That means the cases where collegium system has Supreme Court collegium system, SCC has recommended few names, and these names they have sent for reconsideration, and such cases are around 18 cases where government has sent back for their reconsideration, and still it is pending. That's what Mr. Rijiju, who is our law minister, Kiren Rijiju, our law minister, has stated. So yeah, government can seek reconsideration on names recommended by SCC, and as on 31st/1/2023, as of 31st January, there are 18 proposals on which reconsideration of SCC has been sought. So they have sent for reconsideration and yet to be returned. Like we need to get information about it. So SCC decided to reiterate 6 cases. That means reiterate in the sense, despite it telling, despite government has asked for reconsideration, they have again reconfirmed that yes, this is the list. So they did not accept for their reconsideration, they told that reiteration. So again reconfirming the same thing. Okay. So that in that way there are 6 cases out of 18, 6 cases. Next, in 7 cases, SCC has desired updated inputs from the High Court collegiums. So in 7 cases, SCC, suppose SCC, this collegium will have different judges recommended for both High Courts and Supreme Courts. So in 18, 7 cases they have asked update from High Court. So they seek update from High Court whether they are, yes, are they capable enough or not, for 7 cases of judges. Next, 5 cases have been decided to be remitted by the SCC. Remitted means removed. So to remove 7 cases, so out of total 18, 6 cases they have reiterated, that means there is no change. They have told that there is no change, and 7 cases they have told that desired updates from High Courts. So they required High Courts reconsideration, what is their update, and rest 5 cases what they have decided to remit, that means to remove. So to remove those they have decided. Who? SCC. So that is what Mr. Rijiju said in a written reply to a question by CPIM member John Britus. So in the parliamentary session when they have asked a written question, for that as a reply he has given the answer. So there is no supplementary questions followed for that. Okay. So the law minister response comes amid a tussle between a government and SCC over the delay in the appointment of judges. So thing is that Supreme Court is telling that, or the judicial system is telling that we are getting a delay in appointment of judges because you are not approving well. And when government has been approached, what government says is that their concerns is mentioned here. So what is the government response for Supreme Court stating that, or the judicial system stating that it is the process of delaying from government. So what is the government response to that? Let's see. In response to another question, Rijiju said various High Court collegiums were in breach of 6 months timeline to send advance recommendations to fill the upcoming judicial vacancies. So what Mr. Rijiju said is that if there is an upcoming vacancy in a buffer period of 6 months, they need to give those names for the upcoming filling up vacancies list. They need to keep a buffer time of 6 months and they need to recommend those names to government, which they are failing to do. So, breaching in a sense, they are breaching the timeline, they are not following the exact 6 months timeline. So, without them following the timeline, how can we give the exact list of acceptance or rejection? That is what Mr. Riju has told. So, are you able to understand? Next, as on Jan 30, recommendations for 236 vacancies, 191 existing and 45 anticipated during the next 6 months were yet to be received from the Supreme Court, from High Court collegiums. That means, as on January 30th, for the upcoming 6 months, how many recruitment are required? 191 existing and 45. So, totally in 236 vacancies, 191 are already existing vacancies and 45 are the anticipated vacancies for the 6 months or yet to be received from High Court. So, see here, it is still delayed from High Court end only, High Court's end only. That means from the judiciary part itself, it is being delayed. That is what they have told. Okay. So, he said that 142 proposals recommended by High Court collegium were at various stages of processing. So, other recommendations which High Court has given, they are at various stages of processing. So, from each stage it has to go. So, first from High Court, it will go to the government, and in the government, Intelligence Bureau will give a clean sheet. If it is fine, yes, you can proceed for this particular person to recommend, to accept the recommendation. Okay. Else, this is the issue with this particular person, you can reject or ask for reconsideration. Okay. So, that is what he has mentioned. So, of these 4 are pending with SCC, while 138 are under various stages processing within the government. According to the existing procedure, the High Court collegiums send their proposals for the appointment of judges to the Law Minister's Justice Department. So, to whom it is being sent to? Whenever the recommendations is being coming from High Court, it doesn't directly goes to the Supreme Court collegium. It goes to the Law Minister, and to which department? Justice Department. To the Justice Department it goes, and from there how it goes? Which then attaches Intelligence Bureau reports on the candidates, forwards the proposals to the Supreme Court collegium to take a call. So, this Justice Department upon receiving this particular collegium recommendations, whose High Court's recommendations will be sent. So, after receiving that, what Supreme Court does, what government does, this Justice Department will attach Intelligence Bureau report, and including that they will further follow it or they will further send it to Supreme Court collegium. So, this is the internal procedure of how a person is being appointed by SCC. Okay. So, yeah, against the sanctioned strength of 1,108 judges in a various high courts, as on Jan 30, 775 judges were working while 333 posts were vacant. So, totally in 1,108 judges for various high courts were being sanctioned, out of which only 775 are currently working, and how many vacancies are there? 333 places are still vacant. Okay. So, that you need to understand. Referring to the vacancies, in the SC, he said only 27 judges including Chief Justice of India were now working against the sanctioned 34 judges. So, you need to know 33 plus 1, right? 33 plus 1 are the total judges count in Supreme Court. So, apart from this sanctioned strength, what is the existing strength? 27 members along with Chief Justice of India. That means 26 plus 1 are the available strength as of now in Supreme Court. That shows the delayed from or delaying from Supreme Court end. That is what they have explained. Fine. So, Supreme Court collegium has recently made 7 recommendations to fill up all the vacancies of judges. So, recently they have sent recommendations. So, it is still under different stages of processing. Okay. Next. Rest all. Replying to another question, BJP member Sushil Modi regarding the proportion of judges coming from various social categories, the law minister. So, here the other question is that on what proportions, so who has asked this? BJP member Sushil Modi has questioned that what about the different social categories, categorization, caste categorization or minority caste, we have reservations, right? Reservations guaranteed from our constitution through fundamental rights. You have these reservations. So, in your article 16, yeah, in article 16 you have recommendations, the reservation categories. So, as part of that, what they have asked, What about the different social categorizations existing in your judiciary? That they have posed a question. In reply to that, the Law Minister has said that 430 High Court judges out of 554 were appointed since 2018. So as of now, total strength is 554, but 430 High Court judges were appointed when? During the span of 2018. Okay. So he added that 58 judges were OBCs, among which, so among 430, 58 judges are from OBCs, 27 are from religious minorities, 19 are from SCs, while 6 belong to ST community. And the general category judges accounted for 77% of all the appointments. So one thing you need to understand, that is there proper reservation there? In the social categorization, as per the prescribed count, as per the prescribed taken percentages of reservation, is it available? It is not even 5% or 10%, no. 430, 58 people are there. 6 people belong to STs. So it is not following exact reservations. 77 people are from general category, 77% of people are from general category. One thing you need to understand here is that these are technical posts. So based on the merit itself, you need to give much priority. So you can't compromise on the merit system while considering the social categorization. Are you able to understand? For suppose, if the person is not able to meet a particular recommendation, like particular criteria of qualifying nature, you can't take them into the judiciary system, right? By compromising on the merit, you can't give to someone by considering their social backdrop. Okay, so that person should be qualified enough, because they are going to give you certain kinds of judgments to people. So they are judiciary, most powerful body in the country. We are giving utmost priority to the judiciary, right? So we can't compromise on the merit by giving priority to what? To social categorization. That you need to understand. That is the internal point here. Next, the government has been requesting the Chief Justice of High Courts that while sending proposals for appointment of judges, due consideration be given for the suitable candidates and minorities for social diversity. So he has mentioned that government was requesting Chief Justice that when you are recommending for the collegium, make sure that you are recommending someone who is eligible from these social categorizations also. Because those recommendations should be coming from their end only, from judiciary end only. So that is why they have requested that please ensure there is social categorization, support for weaker sections too. That can be from SC, ST, OBCs, women too. Okay. Next, no decision to bring UCC as of now. Uniform Civil Code. What's your article? Article? Where it comes? Directive Principles of State Policy, Article 44 gives certain, what is DPSP's Directive Principles of State Policy says that it is certain kinds of rules or the way how the current political parties or current government has to follow. In the near future they can implement, okay, on how the country should be dealt or how the country should lead it path to future. Those are the guiding mechanisms, which is your directive principles. So directive principles, directives, they are giving certain kinds of directive principles to the state on how to act. One such principle is your Uniform Civil Code. So common civil code, irrespective of their religion or irrespective of their backdrop, same civil code for everyone. Article 44 says that, and it is not justifiable and can be implemented by the state government, by central government. So what Mr. Riju again, the Law Minister has said that in current scenario we can't take up this UCC as of now. Okay. So no decision has been taken on implementing Uniform Civil Code in the country as of now, says who? Law Minister Mr. Kiren Riju. Okay. Told the Rajya Sabha on Thursday in a written reply to Mizo National Front member. So in a written reply again, so there is no supplementary questions followed. He has mentioned that, however, the term of 21st Law Commission ended on 2018. As per the information received from the Law Commission, the Ministry noted that 22nd Law Commission may take up matter relating to Uniform Civil Code. So the 21st Law Commission has ended in 2018. So in the 2000, what they have mentioned is in 22nd Law Commission, this particular UCC will be taken into consideration. But as of now, they haven't taken. One underlying reason is elections. Elections is one underlying reason. Therefore, no decision on implementation of Uniform Civil Code taken as of now. So in the near future, we can expect uniform civil code. Once the same political party is getting elected, definitely they will be taking up this uniform civil code as an issue. Okay. Cut in Manrega's outlay is not a concern, says Somnathan. So Ashika Rajput, it's not in FRs. It's not fundamental right, Ashika. Fine. Okay. Fine. Let's see. Cut in Manrega's outlay is not a concern, says Somnathan. So who is Somnathan? Union Finance Secretary Ministry. So Union Finance Secretary says that, TV Somnathan, he says that cut in Manrega's. Yesterday we have seen that almost 60% of the amount has been cut for Manrega funds. So he says that it is not a much concern. Yesterday's paper we have seen that there is a criticism that Manrega fund has been cut. Now they have given explanation that no, it is still in the beneficiary end. How? We will see now. Okay. There has been an enhancement in rural outlays under other schemes which will generate similar work opportunities, says Union Finance Secretary, stressing that the economy is in a better shape. So simple, one thing you need to understand that this way of subsidizing is getting lesser every year. You need to understand, subsidizing mentality of the government is being reduced, and asset creation, employment facilities, self-employment, entrepreneurship, economy generation is the one which is they are focusing right now. Okay. So as of now, what he said is that, so even though Manrega fund has been reduced, it is been included, or it comes back into the economy through different other infrastructure or other kind of schemes. What are those schemes? We will see in this particular article. Okay. So Union Ministry has told that Manrega stressing that economy is in a better shape. So same thing, he said that it is economy is in a better shape. So even if we are reducing it, it will not be a much concern. So let's see. Union budget presented on Wednesday allocated 60,000 crore for Manregas in 23-24, 18% below the current year's budget estimates, almost 33% lower than revised estimates. So almost 33% low than the revised estimates of the current financial year. You need to understand, and almost 18% than budget allocated than previous year. So housing scheme, we have major increases in allocations this year, which is PM Awas Yojana, which is even larger than PMAY. So compared to the previous year, this year we have already seen PM Awas Yojana, they have spent more, and their major focus is not only rural but also tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Yesterday I have explained that. So their focus is not only restricted to your rural areas, they have come up while dealing with these household facilities for tier 2 and tier 3 cities also. So that we have seen yesterday. So he has told that in one way compensating to Manregas, what they have given? They have given much funding to PMAY, which is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Allocations for the housing scheme up to 66% rise. So there is 18% less in Manregas, but what is the hike? 66% hike for households, for building of different houses. For that 66% hike for amount of 79,000 crore has been allocated. But the Gramin or rural component is up over 100%. So for the rural alone, 100% has seen the hike. That's what he has mentioned. There is also a big increase in Jal Jeevan Mission tap connections, water tap connections, that is also discussed in yesterday's newspaper. So for Jal Jeevan Mission also, they have given special focus, and these tap connections focus on what? Especially to rural areas. So for that only, they have Jal Jeevan Mission. So the area where this is spent is the same area where Manrega is an operation. So roughly 40,000 crore extra is going through these sources into the rural areas through central government's own programs. So comparatively, this also operates where Manrega operates. Say Manrega operates in rural areas. Awas Yojana, rural areas. Your Jal Jeevan Mission in rural areas. So in the overall picture, if you see, almost 40,000 crore is again dumping back into rural economy. So he says that it's still in the advantageous position. Through only government programs, around 40,000 crore is being again circulated into rural budget or rural economy. Fine. Obviously have some, so nothing, these spends would obviously have some effect on demand for Manrega work, as there would be same type of people with same type of jobs. So we will definitely see some reduction in demand in terms of actual availability of employment in those areas through these big programs. The third economy is going much better than in 2020. So the normal economic push will be in favor of lower Manrega's demand. During pandemic time, we have seen huge reverse migration. Reverse migration in the sense, from Tier 2, Tier 1 cities, people started migrating back to their households, because some people, almost unorganized sector, rural areas, people mostly they will be confined themselves to unorganized sector in Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities. They fled back because of lack of jobs and because of lack of life security. They have fled back to their own places, where they have again search for employment opportunities, where Manrega has given that particular opportunity, because there is 100 days working day scheme. So Manrega has showcased certain kind of employment facility for them. That is the case in 2020 and 2021. And current situation is, you can see that again lot of constructions or unorganized sector again started booming. So these people again migrating to Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities. So what this particular person, finance secretary, says is that, yes, currently our economy is in good shape. So requirement for Manrega will also be reduced. So there will not be an effective issue on reducing the budget for Manrega. So that is the underlying concept why they have reduced the budget allocation for Manrega. Okay, understood? So the PM Kisan allocation declined from 68,000 crore this year. Yes, so 68,000 this year to 60,000 crore next year. So PM Kisan allocation is also declining from 68,000 to 60,000 crore. Essentially, essentially the database has been updated after a 3-year gap. There were people who were ineligible. These were the people who were getting 2 places. There are those who have left and migrated from those people and taxpayers. So they have no point in, so they have declined. So thing is that the beneficiaries of this particular Kisan scheme, after a 3-year span, like for beneficiaries, initially when you are designing a particular scheme, targeted beneficiaries will be there. So this designing or the database of PM Kisan beneficiaries was dated back to 3 years. And when they have currently calculated the current beneficiaries, they have seen that many of the people are turned into taxpayers, and some migrated to some other places, and some were ineligible due to their income. Okay. So what happened? They have all turned out ineligible beneficiaries. So they have removed all those. So what happened? So it is better, I mean there is no impact while reducing this particular fund to 60,000 crore. That is what another speculation which finance secretary has given. This is completely like pro-government. Okay, you need to understand. It's a pro-government because he is giving completely positive. Of course, there is negative too. There will definitely be certain kinds of sufferings, because around 8,000 crore amount is being deducted. So definitely there will be certain kinds of issues. But yeah, this pro-government, you need to know the positive into two. Okay, so that's what this particular article says. Nothing more than that. Let's see if there is any other article left. For today's paper, there is no much importance. Yeah. CITES database reveals that red sanders smuggling. There is a clear discrepancy in reporting of the trade in the endangered species by exporting and importing countries, says Wildlife Trade Monitoring Organization, traffic. So they says that there is some kind of database reveals that there are smuggling of red sanders. That means whatever the red sanders that is actually exporting is more than the one which is in our records. Are you able to understand? Our records of cutting down the trees is very much less compared to the exports that is being happening from India. Why? Smuggling. That is what says traffic. So that is an organization. CITES is another organization, you need to know. Yeah. So let's see this article. Okay. So CITES trade database has recorded 28 incidents of red sanders confiscation, seizure, specimens from the wild being exported from India, the fact sheet prepared by Traffic. So that organization has recorded that almost 28 incidents they themselves have recorded. So those are recorded one. What about the unrecorded ones? So these were the incidents where they have found the seizure or specimens confiscation of red sanders. So what is Traffic? A global wildlife trade monitoring organization has revealed. So this is global wildlife trade monitoring. So anything that is related to wildlife products or forest products, for that this particular Traffic body will be monitoring it. Okay. So for that they have told that almost 28 cases we have recorded on smuggling of red sanders. Okay. CITES, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna, is CITES is an international agreement between governments whose aim to ensure that international trade in wild animals and plants does not threaten the survival of species. That means those species which are under threatening or which are under endangered, okay, or which are about to get extinct, for all these species, this particular CITES is an agreement between the government, intergovernmental agreement, which ensures the safety of or to protect the animal and plant species from being endangered or from being extinct. Okay, that is one thing about CITES. So this consignments exports, so all these are data. Exports to China 53.5% and Hong Kong 25%, Singapore 17.8% and United States 3.5% from 2016 to 2020. So that is the level of exports that has been happened on red sanders. Okay. So red sanders scientific name is Pterocarpus santallinus. Okay. So red sanders, again important scientific name Pterocarpus santallinus. It is a red sandalwood, is an endemic tree species with the distribution restricted to eastern Ghats of India, mostly found in Andhra Pradesh. It is an endemic species of Andhra Pradesh and it is endangered one. You will know here under, so this particular red sanders is listed under Schedule 4 of Wildlife Protection Act and categorized as endangered as per IUCN Red List. So every year this red list will be updated and this particular species is under endangered list and Schedule 4 of Wildlife Protection Act. Okay. So that you need to understand. Yes. Next. So the species found in Andhra Pradesh, so I told you this red sanders is almost found in Andhra Pradesh in the eastern Ghats area. So Andhra Pradesh, and growing up to a height of 10 to 15 meters, is reported one of the India's most exploited tree species and under several pressure for illegal logging and harvesting. So yeah, you need to understand. Okay. So red sanders is the one of the most exploited tree species in the country and it is present in your eastern Ghats area. Under the foreign trade policy, the import red sanders is prohibited while export is restricted. Okay. So importing of red sanders is prohibited and exports is restricted. So India reported an export of more than 19,049 tons of logs in comparison with the importing countries to 4,610, and these are like general data. One thing you need to understand that China remains the largest importer with more than 13,618 tons. Only thing you need to understand. So our red sanders are also being imported and one of the major importers of our red sanders is China. Okay. Next. So it is under great pressure because of again illegal logging and harvesting. So its hardwood is in demand in both domestic and international markets. So basically through this red sanders you can build furniture, medicinal plants. So it has some medicinal value in that. So it is used to make furniture, handicrafts, while red dye obtained from the wood is used for coloring agent in textiles and medicines, and rampant illegal logging has been reported across its state. So first thing, it can be used for furniture or handicrafts, and the red dye which is obtained from the wood can be used for tablets, for medicine manufacture and also for textiles dyeing. So that because of these uses, it is being hugely exploited in India. Okay. Fine. Next. Enforcement agencies such as Forest Department, Customs, Railways, Police, DRA, Directorate General of Revenue Intelligence, and Coast Guard must coordinate efforts to curb red sanders trafficking by sharing information on hotspots, transit routes, and real-time intelligence traffic has said. So what traffic has said is that by integrating all these particular organizations, can be customs, can be railways, can be police, can be DRAs, to integrate them and to work on effective identification and stoppage of these red sanders. So that they have told. Okay. Next. That's it. Yeah. So Australia is removing British monarchy. Just a moment. Fine. Okay. So Australia is British. So Australia is removing. Okay, fine. Sorry. Yeah, is removing British monarchy from its banknotes. So banknotes consists of British emperor images. So the king or queen, who are from the British, they have in their notes imprinted. So as of now, imprinting them in banknotes they have removed, but in the currencies, coins, they haven't removed. Okay. So you need to understand, Australia is removing British monarchy from its banknotes. The nation's central bank said on Thursday its new $5 bill. Its new $5 bill would feature an indigenous design rather than an image of Charles III. So King Charles III is actually British king now. So instead of him, what they have told, we will come up with an indigenous note, okay, of our own note, which Australia has told. Okay. Fine. Next. I think this would be your last article. Let's see. US military to get greater access to Philippines bases. So you need to understand, where is Philippines? So it is nearer to China. These are the group of islands. So when we are discussing about international relations, I have shown each individual island. So there, for these Philippines, what US has got, it has got military to get access to Philippines bases. Wherever the Philippine bases are there, now US will get access to their military bases to be set up in Philippines bases. So which is the target here? China is the target. So they have got into lines with Philippines to be targeting China. So you know that here the issue is China is growing its influence on Taiwan, Taiwan being an individual country, yet people are unable to recognize it as an individual country because of the growing threats from China. So China says that Taiwan and China are both same. Whatever you are giving facilities for China, Taiwan should also be getting it. So here to target that, to remove that, okay, US has put its bases. Now it can place its bases in Philippines. So let's see, that's entirely about this article. So just I'll read out and that's enough. Okay. United States and the Philippines announced a deal on Thursday to give US troops access to another 4 bases in the Southeast Asian nation as a long-time allies seek to counter military's attack. So they have come up with one particular agreement stating that in this Southeast Asian nation, US can have its military troops countering China's military attack or military rise. So agreement to expand cooperation in strategic areas of the country was made during the visit of US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. So with him, they have come up with a proper agreement. Okay. Next, Beijing's growing assertiveness on Taiwan and its building of bases is disputed in South China Sea was given impetus to Washington and Manila to strengthen their partnership. So capital cities Washington and Manila So Beijing's growing assertion of Taiwan. So just now I told, no, Taiwan, Beijing is trying to portray that Taiwan is also part of China. Even India is also unable to, it is trying to recognize Taiwan as a separate country, but no, because China is showing its increasing pressure that Taiwan is also part of our country. So to reduce that growing pressure on Taiwan, what US has got? It has placed its bases in Philippines. Key cooperation, proximity to Taiwan, its surrounding waters, cooperation from Philippines would be the key event for the conflict with China, which a 4-star US Air Force General has warned could happen as early as 2025. So by 2025, if there is an event of conflict with China, we will be standing with Philippines and Taiwan too. Okay, that is what mentioned by US 4-star US Air Defense people. Okay, next. So US and Philippines have this decades-old security alliance that includes mutual defense treaty and 2014 enhanced defense cooperation for agreement, which allows US troops to rotate through 5 Philippines bases, including those near disputed waters, and also allows US military to store equipment and supply on those bases. So there is an issue of South China Sea where China is trying to claim that it is their own area. So it's not making, like, it is creating a dispute there. So to avoid this issue, or in near future, if there is any conflict of interest with Philippines and other countries targeting China, where China is targeting these countries, then US will have its bases, its defense bases in Philippines, where it will counter attack China's strategy. Okay, that you need to understand. So I think that is it. Let me see if there is any other article pending, else we can wind up the session. Okay. So Pakistan launches $2.7 nuclear plant under CPEC corridor. So under CPEC corridor, which means China-Pakistan economic corridor, where Pakistan is trying to build its economic corridor near LOC region. Okay, line of actual control, sorry, line of control region, where this Pakistan is trying to build a 2.7 billion nuclear plant under CPEC corridor. Okay. So $2.7 billion, the total worth of nuclear reactor inaugurated by Pakistan, 1100 megawatts capacity power plant built under the China-Pakistan economic corridor will generate some of the nation's cheapest electricity, and nuclear reactor was connected to the power grid in the last March. So issue what happened recently, there was huge power outage in Pakistan. If you have seen in the previous news, there was huge power outage back then in Pakistan for a whole day. So in response to that, what they have come up with, they will be building out with a $2.7 billion amount. They will be trying to build a nuclear plant in CPEC corridor. Okay. So this comes as a outcome of that particular event. So that is a backdrop. Next, IT spends 57 paise for every 100 rupees tax collecting. So Information Technology Department spends 57 paisa for every 100 rupees of tax collected. Just a basic thing that you need to know, which is far more less when compared to other countries like Japan or UK spends 73 paise, Japan spends 174 paise, Canada spends 150 paise, so on. So this is the rupees, the income tax collection cost that the IT department incurs on every 100 rupees collected on tax. That can be your transactional tax, any taxes. Okay. Next. So putting budget 2023 into a perspective, the Union budget assumes a nominal GDP of 10.5% in 2023-24, which implies a projected inflation rate of 4%. Given the economic survey baselines, real GDP growth projection is about 6.5%. So the real GDP growth is for 6.5% as per the projection. How does this projection, how does this fare against the figures of previous governments? So just you need to know this particular table. I will be just explaining you just 2 or 3 how to read out this table, then go through the newspaper and understand. Okay, fine. Let me go to the gist first, then let me go to the tabular column. So yeah, Finance Minister has announced a sharp increase in capital expenditure in the union budget, seeking crowd in private investments, especially in the infrastructure sectors like railways, roads and power plants. So you need to understand that I have already told our country is in the path for asset creation. So capital expenditure is more. So here you need to understand that seeking crowd-in effect, private investments into infrastructure development. That can be in your railways, that can be in your roads or in your power plants. Okay. So on the other hand, subsidies on food, fertilizer, petroleum, interest subsidies along with outlays on welfare schemes like Manreva have been seen reduced quite significantly. So just now I told you that subsidies whatever are present, they are trying to reduce it to the minimal, and that too gradually they are decreasing it, and what they are increasing? Capital expenditure asset creation modes they are focusing upon. So infrastructure projects is given more importance. Your railway budget, if you see, that is of more importance. You need to understand that. Okay. Next. Fine. Defense expenditure, which was 2% of the GDP on average under UPA 2 government. So budgets 1.6% of GDP under NDA. So in the different government, what is the level of budget allocation for defense in terms of percentage of GDP? So earlier it used to be 2% and the current it has been reduced to 1.6% of the GDP and fallen down to 1.5% in 22-23 as a proportion of GDP, while expenditure on agriculture seem to have increased. So this is all what? This is one speculations or analysis of the existing budget. So when you are explaining about the current budget scenario in your mains, then you can use these sentences directly. Okay. So you need to understand not about the government but other speculations which I told you. On subsidies the amount has been reduced and capital expenditure has increased. In the same way you can use it. Fine. So here, while expenditure on agriculture seems to have increased during NDA 2 government's tenure, mainly on account of PM Kisan cash transfer, and which is 6,000 rupees now, they will be transferring amount DBT, so which is direct benefit transfer. Then expenditure on education has reduced quite significantly compared to UPA 2 era. So on education amount has been decreased, and on agriculture you can see it has been increased, whereas some other places where defense expenditure has seen to be decreased, that you need to understand. Next, corporate tax collection. Corporate tax collection has a share of GDP fell from 3.7% of the GDP under UPA 2 to 3.3% GDP under current NDA 1. So you need to understand that again the corporate tax has been seen a reduction to 3.3% and came down to 2.3% of GDP in 2020-21 following the sharp corporate tax cuts introduced in 2019. So in 2019 what sharp cuts has happened? GST. Okay. So apart from GST, so you can see there is a sharp corporate tax cuts, and post-pandemic recovery has led to the enhanced tax collections, but corporate tax collections remained at 3.1% in 22-23. Revenues from personal income taxes being almost equal to the corporate tax, revenues point towards a regressive tax regime which perhaps compelled the finance minister to cooperate to provide few concessions on income tax payers in the present in this year's budget. So when they have understood that corporate budget is equating your income tax, when they have understood that, that is when they have understood that it is regressive, so it is increasing. So what they have done, they have introduced slab system, they have increased slab systems and equated to certain number. Okay. So that is what they have done by analyzing that income tax has equated to corporate tax. That is when they have reduced the slabs. Okay. So you can see budget sector wise budget allocation. So small, just let me read out this, after that we can go to this. Just small, I will be discussing about 2 to 3 sectors, see about other sectors. So as per the latest economic survey, the Indian economy is set to attain a real GDP growth of 7% in 22-23 with both retail and wholesale inflation rates falling below 6% in the months ahead. Okay. So the union budget presented in the backdrop assumes a nominal GDP growth of 10.5% in 22-23, I mean 23-24, this financial year, which implies a projected inflation rate of just 4%. 4% gives the economic survey baseline and real growth projection is 6.5%. So what they have projected inflation for this year? 4% they have inflation projections, but it will be definitely more than that. Okay. So 4% is the inflation rate projection. This reflects official optimism regarding the Indian economy remaining in the macroeconomic sweet spot of declining inflation and high growth, even as the rest of the world could experience growth slowdown along sticky inflation. So you need to understand that if you compare with other countries, let's say with the US, we can see despite not having a formal recession, like if they still did not formally announce that they are in a recession, but you can see there is a huge outlays or huge people being jobless. So they are removing in a huge way, no, massive job losses are being happening in US, which is indicating the upcoming recession or existing recession. But in India, what is the inflation targeting? It is quite sweet, which is 4%. Projection maybe, but still it might be increased in some other cases, but currently it is 4% as the inflation rate projection, and we can see the expected growth would be 6.5% compared to other countries where economy is getting slowed down. Okay. So the economic survey has predicted a fresh cycle of investment-led growth, so infrastructure, capital investment by private cooperative sector supported by increasing credit from the banks. That is why you have increased credit loans. Startups has been redefined. Okay, not now, in the previous budget, not previous also, the 2 years back budget, the startups, MSMEs have been redefined. So based on that redefined, they have upgiven or they have increased the level of beneficiaries for startups. Okay. So rather than relying upon such rosy predictions, however, the finance minister has sharp increase in capital expenditure in the union budget, seeking to crowd in of private investments, which we have seen. Crowding in of private investments. Crowding in the sense people are showing interest to come into investments. Crowding in. Privates showing interest to invest into particular market. Okay. So infrastructures like railways, roads, power plants. On the other hand, subsidies have seen a gradual decrease. And so it is also indicating higher prices of cereals, LPG cylinders, fertilizers like urea in days to come. The overall impact of such expenditure switching may turn out to be inflationary. So what happens on this particular expenditures which is going from out of pocket? So when the subsidies are being reduced, then out of pocket expenditure will be more, that can be inflationary. So inflation would be more in such areas. That is what it says. Okay. So I will be explaining few here, so you can understand. Let me go to one particular sector. So let me take with total expenditure, capital expenditure. So total expenditure can be revenues and expenditure. So here capital expenditure is how much? It is all these are percentage of GDP. In terms of percentage of GDP, you need to know. So in 2009 to 2013-14 financial year, it was 1.8% of GDP is your capital expenditure. Coming to now, 2000, let me go to, just a moment, yeah, yes. So 23-24, what is the capital expenditure? In terms of GDP, it is 3.3%. So from 1.8 to 3.3% is current capital expenditure rise. Food subsidy, earlier it was 0.9%. In the previous year it was 1.1% and now it is being reduced. So you can see subsidies are being reducing. Is it clear? Subsidies reduced. Next, let me go to education. 0.7%. What is now? 0.4%. Reduction. Next, health, it was 0.3%, same is being continued. So that you need to understand. In this way, go through the different sector speculation to analyze each sector's budget allocation. Okay. So that is regarding this particular article. Yeah. Yes. That's it for the class. So I think today's articles are clear. If you have any doubts, please do let me know. Yeah. So that's it for today. Thank you for the session. Go through each paper. So whatever we are discussing now, if today paper is being discussed, read it today only. Complete it by today. Don't postpone it for other classes. Okay. Thank you for the session. Good day. Thank you.